Hello, and thank you for joining me for another Gymnastfit full body strength and conditioning session. We're going to kick things off with our warm-up. We're going to run through these exercises for 2 rounds. Starting on the floor, you're going to pop into a single leg glute bridge. So one leg up towards the ceiling, or you can have your foot resting on your knee. You're going to do 8 to 10 reps each side. We're lifting our hips up until we make a straight line from your knee through to your shoulders. You're going to pause for 2 seconds at the top of each glute bridge and then relax down onto the floor. Next up, we're going to be going into, once you've completed those 8 to 10 reps on each leg, we're going to be changing into a push-up position for front support shoulder taps. You can have your feet hip width apart, hands, shoulders directly over the top of your hands. And you're going to make a straight line from your shoulders through your spine, through your hips, down to your ankles. You're going to lift one hand up and reach across and tap the opposite shoulder. We're going to do 6 each arm. As you do this, you're just trying to keep your hips nice and steady. So we're trying to not rock from side to side as you transfer your body weight from one side to the other side. So 6 reps each arm. Then we're going to move into our third warm-up exercise, which is just split squats. So you're going to step one foot back, and then we're going to bend that back knee and that front knee to lower your back knee towards the ground. We're going to be doing 8 reps each leg. So the easier version of this is hands on your hips. If you want to increase the difficulty and make it slightly more challenging, you're going to see if you can raise those arms overhead. What we're looking for is, even though we're descending down with those knees, we're trying to keep a nice straight line from hips through your ribs and your shoulders up towards those fingertips, reaching up towards the ceiling. So we're going to complete 2 rounds of that warm-up, and then we're going to go into our workout. So today's workout is going to be full of supersets. So a superset is 2 exercises that you perform back to back. So for round 1, you're going to be doing 45 seconds of exercise number 1, followed by 45 seconds of exercise number 2. Then you're going to have a 15-second rest. For round 2, you're going to do 40 seconds of exercise number 1, followed by 40 seconds of exercise number 2, and then a 20-second rest. And then for round 3, you're going to do 30 seconds exercise number 1, 30 seconds exercise number 2, followed by a 20-second rest. So first exercise in our superset is YTW. So you're going to hinge at the hips so that you make about a 45-degree angle with your spine. Then you're going to raise those arms up in a straight line to make a Y shape. Then you're going to bring your arms back down, turn your thumbs out to the side, and raise those arms up to make a T shape. And then you're going to keep that hand position with thumbs into the center, and you're going to make a W shape by raising your elbows and then extending your arms. So you're making a Y shape, a T shape, a W shape, and then a T at the top of that W. You can use weights for this exercise, and you can use bands as well. Then you're going to go straight into 45 seconds for round 1 of hamstring slides. So you can do this on a hard floor in socks, or if you've got sliders or paper plates or a piece of cardboard, you can do this on a carpeted surface. Starting off with those plates or sliders under your heels, you're going to push your hips up into a glute bridge, and then you're slowly going to extend those legs out to straight. The easier version is where you extend to straight legs, let your hips touch the ground, and then bend your legs and bring those feet back into a glute bridge. The harder version is where you start in that glute bridge, slowly extend those legs out, and then pull those legs back in, keeping your hips up nice and high. If you don't have sliders or plates or socks or a surface that you can slide on, you can easily just do the same exercise just by walking those feet out in little steps and walking back in again. So as I said, you're going to do round 1, 45 seconds of each exercise, followed by a 15-second rest. Then you're going to go into round 2, 40 seconds YTWs, 40 seconds hammy slides, and then a 20-second rest. And round 3, 30 seconds YTW, 30 seconds hammy slides, and then a 20-second rest. And then we're going to move on to superset 2. So your first exercise, following that same work-rest ratio, your first exercise is going to be hollow hold leg extensions. So a hollow hold is where your shoulders are pulled off the ground making that round dish shape with your upper back. We're going to create a tabletop position with our knees, so our legs are bent at a 90-degree angle and our heels are as high as our knees. And you're going to keep that knee angle, but extend your hip angle so your heel touches the ground and then comes back to the center, and then you perform the same thing on the other leg. That's the easier version. The harder version is doing the same thing, but you're going to be doing it with straight legs. So one leg is vertical up towards the ceiling, and then the opposite leg descends straight and long down towards the ground. This whole time we need to keep your back and ribs pressed down into the floor. The easier version of this is where you completely relax that upper body, but you do the same movements with your legs. So that bent knee version where you extend through your hip, or the straight leg version where you keep that leg straight and lower it down towards the ground. So that's the first exercise in this superset. The second exercise in this superset is going to be a single leg deadlift. So in gymnastics or dancing, this might look like an arabesque. You're going to start standing on one leg with your hand touching the wall to help support you. This is the easier version. The harder version is doing it freestanding, which is a lot more challenging and it's a lot harder to balance, which is great for all of those balancing things that we do in gymnastics, like beam work. So you're going to drive your knee up towards your chest, keeping that bottom leg nice and straight and strong. We're going to make sure we don't have a hyperextended supported knee. So you're going to notice that I have a slight bend in my knee. So after that knee drive, you're going to swing that leg back, line it up with your supporting leg, and then keep it straight and keep a straight line through your heel, your hip, and your shoulders to end up in a T position with your heel at hip height and your shoulders at hip height. So the goal here, we're going to be doing 45 seconds each leg with this one. So you want to make sure for this superset, you're going to be doing that 45 seconds hollow hold, then 45 seconds right leg, 45 seconds left leg of those deadlifts. Then we're going to move on to superset number 3. So superset number 3 is Superman Angel Wings. So that's our first exercise here. So you're going to squeeze those legs, keep those ankles squeezed together, and you're going to move into arms starting in a W shape, and you're going to raise them up overhead so that they're trying to cover your ears and get in line with your head. The second exercise in superset number 3 is alternating lunges or lunge jumps. So you're going to step that foot back, dropping that back knee down towards the ground gently, or you're going to do the same exercise, but you're going to plyo or jump to swap legs. So we're trying to get as much height as we can out of that lunge jump as you change legs to the other side, just making sure that that back knee doesn't bounce or hit the ground. Superset number 4, we're going to be moving into front support arm raises. So similar to our warm-up exercise, feet are hip width apart, straight lines from your shoulders, through your spine, through your hips to your ankles. And you're going to raise one arm up to try and cover that ear, and you're going to try and keep that body nice and steady. That's the level 1 version. The harder version, or the level 2 version of this, is you do the same thing with your arm, but you also lift up the opposite leg, making sure that leg is straight and the movement is coming from your hip, so your spine should not change its shape. Second exercise in superset number 4 is broad jump. So we're going to have feet hip width apart. We're going to swing those arms, bend those knees, and you're going to perform the longest jump that you can. Land gently with control, absorb that landing, and then run back to your start position. And that is your workout done. Moving into our cool down and flexibility work, we're going to be doing pigeon push-ups, 10 reps each leg. Now, with your pigeon push-ups, you want to make sure that your hips are squared up, so both sides of your hips should be in line. You don't want to be resting on that front leg and have your back knee turned to the side. We're going to be doing 10 reps where you're just lowering that chest towards the ground, and you should feel this stretching underneath the glute of that front leg, or maybe even through the hip of your back leg. 10 reps trying to get gradually lower and lower towards the ground, and then you're going to swap legs. So step that foot back, swing the other leg forward, and repeat on the other side. You want to try and keep your breathing nice and deep whenever you do your flexibility work, and you want to make sure that you're thinking about relaxing the muscles where you're feeling the stretch. We want to try not to have those muscles engaging and tensing instead of relaxing and lengthening, because whenever those muscles engage and tense, they tend to shorten, and that's actually the exact opposite of what we're trying to do with flexibility work. We're trying to get that flexibility, get that muscle to lengthen. Next up, we're going into greatest stretch in the world. But the way you're going to come into this one is you're going to start in a push-up position. You're going to drive your knee up towards your shoulder and step your foot up towards your elbow actively. So we don't just kind of want to slide our foot up. You want to try and use those core muscles to step that foot up. Get comfortable, then you're going to raise the same hand as the foot that you've stepped up and rotate towards the ceiling. Thinking about getting those arms nice and long, stretching those fingers up towards the ceiling. So this should be a really nice hip opener, and it should feel like it's lengthening and stretching that spine as well. You're going to be doing 5 each leg, and with this one we're going to alternate sides. If you don't have the mobility to get that foot all the way up in line with your hand, that is fine. Just get that foot up as close towards that hand as you can. We're going to be moving on to lying knee hug and hammy extensions next. So you're going to lie down on your back, you're going to bring your knee up to your chest, and you're going to hug it in tight, keeping that leg out straight, that you're not bending up towards your chest, keeping that leg out straight, toe pointing towards the ceiling, and keeping that knee flat on the floor. Then you're going to hold that for 10 seconds. Then you're going to grab under that knee, so you're going to be holding onto your hamstring. You're going to do 10 hammy extensions where you're trying to keep that thigh as close to your chest as you can, and as your leg straightens, you want to try not to let that leg move away from your body. So you're trying to get that leg as straight as you can whilst keeping that thigh as close to your chest as possible. Once again, making sure your breathing's nice and calm, trying not to hold your breath, and you're trying to keep everything nice and relaxed. And then you're going to repeat on the other side. So that 10-second lying knee to chest hug, and then 10 hammy extensions each leg. Once we're done here, we're going to flip over onto your tummy for a lying hip flexor stretch. This is one of my favorite stretches as I get really tight hips, and it actually helps me kind of isolate that hip and quad without using my spine to help with the stretch. So here you're going to bring that heel up towards your glute and reach back with your hand to hold on at the angle in your ankle. You're going to let your shoulder roll back so that your shoulder's in a nice comfortable position as well. And you're going to think about pressing your glute and your hip towards the floor and pulling your belly button up and away from the floor. And this is going to turn this into an active stretch. So you're going to do 10 seconds each side. You should feel it through the front of your hip, maybe in your quad, and maybe even in your abs as well. Final flex thing we're going to do today are back raises. So we want to think about when we do these is initiating the movement by pulling your shoulders away from the base of your skull and then rotating each vertebrae upwards one at a time. So we're trying to use that whole spine, not just your lower back, to make this movement happen. You want to imagine that you're making a rainbow shape through your back, not having a really acute hinge point in that lower back. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to comment any questions you've got, like and subscribe to this YouTube, and keep an eye out for more videos.